族に行くことは浮気かどうかっていう、どう思いますか？イエスかノー、イエスかノーで。
ノ
ー。ノー。
金払えばいいよって言ったことあります。
Recently, street interviews have gone viral featuring Japanese people saying that cheating is okay. If you haven't seen this before, you're welcome for the culture shock. But there's more, because you have uni students in research papers going even further to say, well, everyone cheats, and husbands reflecting on their affairs, stating, if you want sex, that's where the girlfriend comes in. I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say this kind of thinking and attitude towards cheating is not one you're familiar with. So where does this difference in value come from? And is there actually a cheating culture in Japan? To properly investigate this matter, I need to take you back in time to an era where Japan was genuinely chill with cheating. Cheating occurs when you're in an exclusive relationship and you have an emotional or sexual affair with someone who is not your partner. Now here's a question for you. What happens when you're in a committed relationship but you don't care for your partner at all? In ancient Japan, this was a common problem people faced because historically, commitments like marriage were not about love. The point of marrying someone was to form alliances between your families and to produce heirs. So it was almost like a business deal. Once you fulfilled your duties to your family, you were then free to pursue your own individual desires, like finding passion or love. We can see this mindset very clearly during the Heian era in Japan. Among the Heian elite, married couples often slept in separate residences, which made it really easy for other people to slip in and out of bedrooms without awkwardly encountering the wife or husband. It literally could not be easier to cheat. The Heian era was the most infamous time in Japan for cheating because it commonly occurred and because both men and women could cheat. As time progresses, we'll see cheating still occurs, but it becomes more and more of a thing only men could get away with. A few hundred years later, during the Tokugawa period, these restrictions came into place. If men from the elite class wanted to sleep around, they could do so, but these activities had to be within Yoshiwara, Japan's first legal red light district. For elite class women, it was frowned upon for them to seek other partners. Confucian thought, introduced through the text Onna Daigaku, or greater learning for women, required them to be faithful to only one husband. So, a double standard had emerged, and it was solidified during the Meiji era in the 19th century. The Japanese government implemented the IES system, emphasizing traditional household roles. Men went out to work, and women looked after the home. This structural division justified a lot of the cheating that was conducted by men. Japanese men worked hard for their family, they were the breadwinner, so if they occasionally needed an outlet to relieve their stress, then they deserved it. But if a woman were to cheat, she would be disrespecting her husband and her children. For a while during the Meiji era, there was even a law that stated a husband had the right to kill his wife and her lover if he found them committing adultery. With such biased laws and widespread justification for men to cheat, women were low-key gaslit into thinking affairs were acceptable husband behavior. Even if they didn't like it, there was little they could do to stop it. Public opinion was that it was fine, and before World War II, it was not uncommon for upper middle class men to have one or even two mistresses, as it was a sign of social prestige. At the time, the prevailing belief was if you couldn't keep a mistress, you were second rate. This double standard for cheating remained until after World War II. What changed? Well, political reforms and the introduction of Christian ideals during this time led to monogamy becoming the new norm for both genders. And we can see this reflected in the law. Before 1948, under Japanese law, adultery was only about the sexual relationship of a married woman with another man. I know. So now applying the same standard to men signaled a huge change in values in Japanese society. And this is honestly a very recent development. It hasn't even been 100 years. Compare this to the ancient Greeks and Romans, first millennium Jews and Christians, medieval Catholics, early modern Protestants, where marital monogamy has been the mainstream in the West for millennia. Not only is there a stark difference between Japan and the West in adapting monogamy, Japan also differs from its East Asian neighbors. Yes, Confucian teaching of loyalty and faithfulness was introduced to Japan, but it was only really applied to women. The Confucian definition of marriage, a monogamous bond between a man and a woman, was never really adopted by the Japanese. And Japan's most popular religions, Buddhism and Shinto, didn't place as much emphasis on marriage or monogamy as Christianity did in the West or as Confucianism did in East Asia. As you can see, these religious or philosophical differences played a very big role in emphasizing or not emphasizing marital monogamy. And all of this has a huge impact on what Japanese society later deems as acceptable. Laws may have changed, and monogamy may be the expectation now, but ways of thinking shaped by thousands of years of history do not just disappear overnight. So let's take a look at what Japanese people nowadays think, starting with the demographic featured in all those street interviews. Do young Japanese people really think this way, or is this just a cherry-picked sample? Let's find out. University, a time when nothing truly mattered. Lectures were held to be skipped, assignments were made to be submitted late, and uni campus was a landmark, a place you saw once a while and never for a long time. This spirit of nothing matters seemed to be shared in Japan too, though slightly differently. Momoko, a 21-year-old student, cuts to the chase. Cheating is forgivable because we are still college students. This was her response to Kimura and Farah in their 2021 paper on how university students in Japan dealt with cheating. Most responses in the paper said cheating was common, and nearly every respondent justified it as a product of youth. It's a rather grim image. There's a shared belief among these respondents that because they're young, relationships aren't that serious anyways, and it's not like you're thinking about marriage, so cheating is more acceptable. Mei, a 22-year-old who cheated, says, "Because I am a university student, I do not need to have a very serious relationship. Basically, I started infidelity with a light heart." And I have a confession to make. I've cheated too. On my study schedule. Yeah, I set all these goals for myself, like get fluent in a language, but how am I going to get fluent if I'm always on YouTube or TikTok instead of actually studying? Well, something that's worked for me is to not force myself to open a textbook and start drilling vocab. That sounds horrible, but to simply work smarter, not harder. You never have to convince yourself to watch another anime episode. In fact, the struggle is to stop. So why fight that urge? Migaku is your one-stop language learning platform that comes with a Chrome extension, app, grammar courses, and more. It offers dual subtitles when you're engaging with content you're interested in. Whether it's anime, novels, lyrics, or articles, you're always picking up on the words that are most relevant for you. You can add words you don't know into a flashcard system, see the sentence breakdown, and learn new words by watching YouTube on your phone through the Migaku app, which is super convenient. Migaku also has comprehensive Japanese courses covering from the basics to advanced grammar concepts. The fundamentals course covers pronunciation, writing systems, and everything you need to know before diving into more complex topics. After completing the beginner's course, you will know 80% of the most common words and grammar patterns. In their app, Migaku also has text recognition, which is great for textbooks, in real life words you don't understand, or for when you want to order a dish and pronounce the words right, instead of just pointing at it and saying, "Kore kudasai." Don't turn your love for a language into a chore. It doesn't have to be hard. Learning can be super fun and effortless, and you would definitely enjoy the process 100 times more with Migaku. Follow my link in the description to receive 50% off their lifetime subscription, which also gives you access to all Migaku languages. Now that's a commitment I know won't be broken. Though I don't know if I can say the same for relationships, because what was that again about starting infidelity with a light heart? These responses make cheating sound very commonplace and acceptable, but I do need to emphasize the study looked only at those who had cheated or were the third person or were cheated on. It's a very specific demographic, so we can't assume the views and experiences being shared here reflect the experiences and thoughts of the broader population. Still, these responses offer some insightful perspectives. Respondents who cheated often minimize their behavior by rationalizing and justifying it, saying it's not a big deal, we're still young, and everyone does it. Despite this, there were still respondents in the same study who stated cheating was morally unacceptable and a deal breaker. Daiki, a 22-year-old who was cheated upon, says, "Yeah, I'm the type that doesn't forgive stuff like that. I'd kind of just immediately lose feelings for her." Many respondents who were cheated on broke up with their partner because they had the idea of once a cheater, always a cheater. And I know this is something that splits the room, so let me know in the comments below if you agree with it. Because we can even see a clear divide here in this study. There were those who thought thought cheating was okay, mostly the cheaters, and those who thought it should never happen, and they were usually the ones who got cheated on. When it comes to the street interviews, I suspect we're seeing a similar occurrence here. Those who cheat or have cheated will likely minimize their behavior, saying it's okay and it's common. But the part that seemed to shock people the most from these street interviews was how chill Japanese women seem to be with the idea of their partner saying a prostitute. So we're going to address this, and this is where all that historical context we looked at comes in handy. Remember, it wasn't until very recently, until after World War II, that the idea of monogamy was enforced in Japan for both genders. So for centuries prior, Japanese women would know their husbands were cheating on them, having affairs or visiting prostitutes to relax after work, and they could do absolutely nothing about it. Of course, things have changed now, but the ways of thinking or societal expectations can still linger. Many of these female respondents say they're fine with their partner seeing a prostitute, but are they really okay with it? Or is there still social pressure in being a chill girl because just 2 generations ago men could cheat and women were okay with it? Take a look at the reason why this respondent thinks prostitution is not cheating.
風俗に行くことは浮気かどうかっていう、どう思いますか？イエスかノー、イエスかノーで。
ノー。
ノー。
全然嫌ではあります。
いや。なるほど、なるほど。じゃあ、自分が重いって思われたくないっていうのを理由に浮気だとは思わないっていうことです。なるほど。
It's easy for us in the West to assume that not seeing a prostitute is the bare minimum. In fact, if that were a requirement, the bar is truly in hell. But the same privilege is not so readily afforded to Japanese women. The relationship between cheating and societal expectations gets even deeper when we look at the generation above. If you weren't shocked already by what you have seen, hold on tight, because for this generation, cheating is often not the problem, it's the solution. In CNN's 2019 docuseries on sex and love around the world, Japanese respondents shared their views on love, marriage, and affairs. One Japanese woman declares, "I love my husband and I love my boyfriend. What's wrong with that?" In Soto Sayaka's book on marriage infidelity in Japan, she notes that Japanese men liked how their wife did the housework and understood their role at work. As for their mistress, Japanese men liked her appearance and the sex they shared. For Japanese women though, everything about the new guy was better. His personality, his appearance, his hobbies, the sex, there was nothing the husband could offer that was better. Damn, that's brutal. But this raises the question. I mean, I guess for Japanese men, they might keep their wife around so someone does all the laundry and the dishes. But what is making Japanese women stay if their lover is better in every single way? Well, there's 2 parts to Japanese culture here that explains why people who cheat often would rather keep cheating than get a divorce. And that's gaman culture and shoganai. Gaman culture is a Japanese concept where one endures hardship without complaints. It's deeply ingrained in Japanese culture, and if you've heard of Japan's long working hours, gaman culture is what pushes workers to endure such brutal conditions. In the same way, it may encourage those in unhappy marriages to keep sticking it out even if they want a different life or a different partner. Another trait stemming from gaman culture is the attitude of shoganai, or it can't be helped. Basically, it is what it is. And if you remember the girl from earlier, she actually expresses this exact attitude when asked about her partner seeing a prostitute.
嫌だけど、しょうがないかなって思っちゃう。
しょうがない。
When given a chance to elaborate, she confesses she doesn't like her partner going to see a prostitute. And let's be honest here, who would? But she still says it's fine because it can't be helped. Gaman culture and this attitude of it can't be helped when applied to a marriage often leads to couples staying together even when they're deeply unhappy because it's expected of them. And also because the family unit, the kids, and social appearances, all of this is often considered more important than individual happiness.
Did your husband know? No. What would he do if he found out? Divorce? No. Why?
子供たちが
So you're happy now?
Yes.
In these cases, quietly cheating often becomes the solution instead of the problem. Again, please note that in a happy marriage, this obviously does not apply. And cheating does come with consequences in Japan. It's not as trivial as these respondents would make it seem. For example, Carolina Shino, crowned Miss Japan in 2024, had to return her title after it was revealed that she had an affair with a married man. Yaguchi Mari, Becky, Watabe Ken are all famous Japanese public figures whose careers took a hit after news of them having affairs or being involved in one came out. Cheating is not more common in Japan than in other countries. It's simply the attitude around cheating that catches us off guard. Many viewers who see these videos may leave with the impression that there is a cheating culture in Japan, but that is simply wrong. These responses, which can be easily misunderstood, have to be interpreted within the context of Japanese society, culture, and history. Behind the nonchalant attitudes displayed here is a long history of patriarchal laws that have shaped and guided the Japanese, particularly women, on what to expect from a relationship. And with the older generation, cheating can be viewed as the easier alternative than splitting up and dealing with the social consequences. Nevertheless, Japan is no better or worse at cheating than other countries. While infidelity exists in Japan, it is not truly acceptable in the eyes of most Japanese people, nor is there a culture that celebrates or encourages cheating. Viral content wouldn't be viral if the responses weren't shocking. While some Japanese may normalize cheating, the majority still value trust and fidelity in their relationships. In the cases where cheating does occur, looking back at historical and cultural values as we've examined today can help explain why people react the way they do in these circumstances. Thank you for watching all the way until the end, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Lots more similar content coming. Thank you as well to my patrons for their endless support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!